Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to hear me loud and clear. If he chooses another woman over you, let him go. And don't just let him go. Release him with power, with confidence, and with certainty that you are the one who's winning. I know what you're thinking, but why? How is losing someone a win? Let me tell you something. What you perceive as loss is actually a breakthrough in disguise. It's life stepping in and saying, I have something better for you. Self-worth is non-negotiable. Your worth is not up for debate. It's not determined by his choice, his validation, or his commitment. It's set by you. When someone walks away, they aren't defining you, they're exposing themselves. If a man can't see your value, that's his limitation, not yours. Do not shrink yourself trying to fit into a smaller version of who you were meant to be. Rejection is redirection. What if I told you that every rejection is just redirection to something greater? The universe, God, life, whatever you believe in, is showing you who isn't meant to be part of your next level. Every setback is a setup for a stronger, more powerful comeback. Scarcity versus abundance mindset. Some people operate in scarcity. They think, he was my only chance at love. But let's get real. There are over 8 billion people on this planet. Your person, your partner, the one who will honor and uplift you, they exist, but you won't find them if you're wasting energy chasing someone who's already looking in the other direction. Your energy attracts what you believe you deserve. Listen, people treat you based on the standards you set for yourself. If you accept being second choice, you'll keep attracting situations where you're never first. When you level up your standard, your life levels up with you. You win by elevating, not clinging. Winners don't beg, champions don't chase. When someone leaves, don't fight it. Elevate, grow, become stronger, wiser, and more magnetic. The best version of you will never have to convince anyone to stay. The right person won't need to be convinced. The one who's truly meant for you, they won't make you question your worth. They won't put you in a competition. They'll choose you without hesitation because they'll see what you already know. You're the prize. So let me ask you this. Are you going to cry over what's leaving or celebrate what's coming? You win by walking away with your power intact. You win by refusing to settle. You win by choosing you. Now go out there and own your worth. Say it with me. If he chooses another woman, let him go. Because you, my friend, are unstoppable. Your worth is not up for debate. It's not something that fluctuates based on someone else's choices. It's not defined by whether someone stays or leaves, whether they choose you or not. Your value is intrinsic. It's built into who you are. And no one, I mean no one, has the power to take that away from you unless you give it to them. When a man chooses another woman over you, it can feel like a punch to the gut. It could shake your confidence, make you question yourself, and leave you wondering, what does she have that I don't? But that question right there, that's the trap. Because the moment you start comparing yourself, the moment you start seeking validation from someone who has already shown you they don't fully appreciate you, you've given away your power. Let's break this down. If someone walks away, if they choose another path, that decision is about them. It's not about you. It's a reflection of their needs, their desires, their limitations. People make choices based on where they are in their own journey, and sometimes those choices won't include you. That doesn't mean you're not enough. That doesn't mean you need to change yourself to fit some new mold. And it certainly doesn't mean you should start doubting the very essence of who you are. The truth is, when someone chooses someone else, what they're really doing is making room in your life for something better. But too often, people don't see it that way. They get stuck in the pain, stuck in the self-doubt, stuck in the narrative that they weren't good enough. And that's where they lose. Not because the relationship ended, not because the person left, but because they let that experience define them in a way that diminishes their worth. Let me ask you something. If you had $1 million in your bank account and someone told you that your money was worthless, would you believe them? Of course not. Because you know the value of what you have. You wouldn't need their approval, their validation, or their acknowledgement. So why, when it comes to your own self-worth, Do you allow someone else's opinion or decision to shake what you know to be true? Here's the thing. You have to anchor yourself so deeply in your own value that no one's actions can make you question it. You have to get to a place where you understand that your worth isn't tied to being chosen, to being loved, or to being validated by another person. You are already enough, right here, right now. And the person who truly sees that, they won't put you in a position where you ever have to wonder. The moment you shift your perspective, everything changes. Instead of seeing his choice as a loss, you start seeing it as a lesson. Instead of feeling rejected, you feel redirected. Instead of chasing after someone who doesn't see your value, you start attracting people who do. But none of that happens unless you first believe it yourself. You have to own your worth before anyone else can recognize it. You have to set the standard for how you allow yourself to be treated. And if someone can't rise to that standard, if someone can't see the incredible value that you bring, then that's not your problem, that's their limitation. You don't lose when someone chooses another person, you lose when you start doubting yourself because of it. But when you stand firm in who you are, when you hold your head high and refuse to let anyone else dictate your worth, that's when you truly win. Because real confidence, real power, real self-respect, that's something no one can ever take away from you. Rejection hurts. There's no way around that. It stings, it shakes your confidence, and it can make you question everything. But what if I told you that rejection isn't the end of the road? It's just life redirecting you to something better. What if instead of seeing it as a loss, you started seeing it as an upgrade? Because that's exactly what it is. Think about the moments in your life where something didn't work out. Maybe a job opportunity fell through. Maybe a friendship faded. Maybe a relationship ended when you thought it was forever. At the time, it felt painful, even unfair. But looking back, aren't you glad certain doors closed? Can't you see how, had you stayed in that place, you wouldn't have grown into the person you are today? The same applies to love. When someone chooses to walk away, when someone decides to be with another person, they aren't rejecting you. They are making space for something far greater to enter your life. The problem is most people don't see it that way. They internalize rejection as proof that they weren't good enough, that they lacked something. But let's get real. If someone can leave, if someone can choose someone else over you, then they were never meant to be part of your next level. Life is always moving you toward what aligns with your highest self. And sometimes that means clearing out what isn't truly meant for you. Imagine you're trying to fit into a pair of shoes that are 2 sizes too small. You keep squeezing your foot in, hoping it will magically stretch, ignoring the discomfort, ignoring the pain, convincing yourself that if you just try harder, it'll work. But no matter how much effort you put in, the reality is those shoes don't fit. And even if you force yourself to wear them, they'll never be comfortable, they'll never support you the way they should. That's exactly what happens when you chase someone who has already chosen another path. You're trying to fit into something that was never truly meant for you, and all it does is cause unnecessary pain. Now, what if, instead of forcing what doesn't fit, you trusted that something better was waiting? What if, instead of seeing rejection as a personal failure, you started seeing it as divine intervention? Because that's exactly what it is. Every time someone walks away, they are doing you a favor. They are making room for the person who will truly see you, truly value you, and never put you in a position where you have to wonder if you're enough. But here's the key, you have to believe it. You have to trust that what is meant for you will never require you to beg, to chase, or to compete. You have to recognize that your worth isn't tied to someone staying, it's tied to how you see yourself. And if you hold on to the wrong person, if you cling to something that isn't serving you, you'll miss out on the incredible opportunities waiting for you. So the next time someone chooses another woman, the next time someone decides to walk away, don't see it as rejection, see it as redirection. See it as the universe stepping in and saying, this is not your best. I have something greater in store for you. And when you embrace that truth, when you stop fighting for what isn't meant for you, you'll realize that you didn't lose anything, you won. Because you made space for something extraordinary to enter your life. Most people operate from a place of scarcity without even realizing it. They hold on to relationships that don't serve them, chase after people who don't value them, and stay in situations that drain them, all because they fear they won't find something better. This mindset is what keeps so many people stuck in relationships where they are not truly seen, heard, or appreciated. But the truth is, love, real, fulfilling, mutual love, is abundant. And when you embrace that reality, everything changes. Scarcity makes you believe that if one person leaves, you've lost your only chance at happiness. It tricks you into thinking that you need to prove your worth to someone who doesn't fully appreciate you. It keeps you in a state of fear, constantly worrying that if you let go, you'll be alone forever. But that's just not how the world works. There are billions of people on this planet, countless opportunities for connection, love, and fulfillment. The idea that one person is your only shot at love, that's a myth, a limiting belief that does nothing but keep you small. Now, let's flip the script. Let's talk about an abundance mindset. When you understand that love is not scarce, you no longer cling to situations that don't serve you. You don't beg for attention. You don't settle for less than what you deserve. And you certainly don't allow someone else's decision to dictate your self-worth. Instead, you move with confidence, knowing that if one door closes, another one will open. The reality is, people with an abundance mindset attract more love, more joy, and more opportunities. Why? Because they aren't operating from desperation. They aren't trying to force relationships that aren't meant for them. They understand that the right connections flow naturally. They don't require chasing, convincing, or proving. When someone chooses another person, instead of feeling devastated, they recognize that it's simply life redirecting them towards something more aligned with who they truly are. Think about it this way. If you were at a restaurant and the waiter told you that they were out of your favorite dish, would you sit there and cry about it? No. You'd pick something else from the menu because you know that there are other delicious options available. The same principle applies to love. If someone walks away, why dwell on what's no longer available when you have a whole world of possibilities ahead of you? The key is to shift your perspective. Instead of seeing one failed relationship as the end, see it as a new beginning. Instead of focusing on what you lost, focus on what you're about to gain. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who is left behind, see yourself as someone who is stepping into something greater. And here's the most powerful part. When you truly embrace an abundance mindset, you become magnetic. People are drawn to confidence, to self-assurance, to the energy of someone who knows their worth. You stop attracting relationships based on fear and lack, and instead, you attract love that is genuine, reciprocal, and deeply fulfilling. So if he chooses another woman, let him go. Not because you've lost, but because you understand that you don't have to hold on to something that isn't meant for you. You don't have to fight for love that doesn't come naturally. You don't have to settle for being an option when you deserve to be the only choice. Love is abundant. Opportunities are limitless. The only thing standing between you and the relationship you truly deserve is your belief in what's possible. Shift your mindset, embrace the abundance that surrounds you, and watch how your entire life transforms. The energy you put out into the world dictates what you attract. If you believe you are unworthy of love, you will attract people who reinforce that belief. If you believe you have to fight for attention, you will find yourself in relationships where you constantly feel like you're proving your value. But when you shift your mindset, when you truly believe you deserve deep, fulfilling, and effortless love, you start drawing in people who reflect that back to you. Think about it like this. If you walk into a room with confidence, knowing exactly who you are and what you bring to the table, people will respond to that energy. They'll see you as someone of high value because you see yourself that way first. But if you walk in seeking approval, unsure of your worth, and desperate to be chosen, people will sense that too. They may take advantage of it, or worse, they may overlook you entirely. The relationships you attract are a direct reflection of how you see yourself. If you constantly find yourself in situations where you feel like you're not enough, where you're chasing love, where you're always waiting for someone to choose you, it's time to ask yourself, what do I believe I deserve? Because the truth is, people treat you according to the standards you set for yourself. When you believe in your worth, you no longer entertain relationships that make you question it. You don't settle for being someone's second choice. You don't tolerate half-hearted efforts, and you certainly don't stay in situations where you feel undervalued. Instead, you operate from a place of certainty. You know that the right person will recognize your value effortlessly because you do. Imagine a high-end brand, one that never goes on sale, never lowers its prices, and never tries to convince people to buy. That brand knows its value. It knows that the right customers will come because quality speaks for itself. Now, compare that to a brand that's constantly offering discounts, constantly changing itself to please everyone, constantly begging for attention. Which one seems more desirable? The same principle applies to relationships. The people who are truly worth your time and energy will not need to be convinced to stay. But here's the challenge. Many people struggle with self-worth because they are waiting for external validation to confirm it. They think if someone loves me, then I must be lovable. If someone chooses me, then I must be valuable. But that's backward thinking. You have to know it first. You have to own your worth so fully that whether someone stays or leaves does not shake your foundation. When you truly understand this, everything changes. You stop feeling anxious about whether someone will commit. You stop trying to be good enough for someone who doesn't see your value. You stop pouring energy into relationships that don't feel aligned. Instead, you focus on yourself, on your growth, on your happiness. And when you do that, you naturally attract people who see you the way you see yourself. Worthy, valuable, and irreplaceable. So if someone chooses another woman over you, let them go. Not because you weren't good enough, but because you deserve someone who sees your worth without hesitation. Someone who doesn't make you question your place in their life. Someone who meets you at the level you've set for yourself. The key is to raise that level, to believe in your value so deeply that anything less than what you deserve becomes completely unappealing. Because when you do that, you don't just attract love, you attract the right love. The kind that doesn't require chasing, the kind that doesn't make you shrink, the kind that feels easy, mutual, and undeniable. And that's the real victory. The real victory in life and love is not in holding on, but in knowing when to walk away with your power intact. Too often, people think that winning means convincing someone to stay, proving their worth, or fighting for a place in someone's life. But the truth is, real strength is found in letting go of anything and anyone that does not honor your value. Elevation comes when you recognize that you do not need to cling to what is not meant for you. When someone chooses another person, it can feel like a betrayal, a rejection, or even a challenge. The instinct for many is to fight harder, to show that they are the better choice, to prove that they are worth staying for. But what does that really accomplish? If you have to beg for someone's attention, if you have to compete for their love, then it was never truly yours to begin with. Love that is real does not require proving. And the people who are meant to be in your life will never make you feel like you have to earn your place. Elevating means understanding that your time, energy, and love are precious resources. It means refusing to lower yourself to chase someone who does not see your worth. It means recognizing that the person who left has already made their choice, and now it is your turn to make yours. You get to decide whether you will waste time trying to hold on to someone who has let go, or whether you will use this as an opportunity to rise, to grow, and to step into an even greater version of yourself. When you elevate instead of cling, you send a powerful message to yourself, to the world, and even to the person who walked away. You show that you are not dependent on someone else's validation to feel worthy. You show that your happiness is not tied to another person's decisions. You show that you are in control of your own destiny and that you will not allow someone else's choices to dictate your value. Think of the most powerful and magnetic people you know. They are not the ones who beg for love or chase after those who have left. They are the ones who know their worth so deeply that they naturally attract people who see it too. They do not dwell on rejection. They use it as fuel to become even stronger. They do not hold grudges. They simply move forward, knowing that what is meant for them will never require them to fight for a place in someone's life. Walking away is not weakness. It is strength. It is choosing yourself. It is deciding that you are not willing to be an option, a second choice, or a backup plan. It is standing in your power and saying, I deserve more, and I will not settle for anything less. And when you do that, something incredible happens. You stop attracting people who take you for granted, and you start attracting people who value you from the start. The moment you let go of what is not serving you, you create space for something better. You elevate yourself to a higher standard, and the people who align with that standard will naturally come into your life. But none of that happens if you stay stuck holding on to someone who has already let go. So when he chooses another woman, let him go. Not with anger, not with resentment, but with absolute certainty that you are winning. Because the real victory is not in keeping someone who does not see your value. The real victory is in choosing yourself, in elevating instead of clinging, and in knowing that the best is yet to come. Healing is not about erasing the past or pretending that pain never happened. It's about reclaiming your power, rebuilding yourself, and stepping into a new version of you, one that is wiser, stronger, and more aligned with the love you truly deserve. When someone chooses another woman, it may feel like you've lost, but in reality, you've been given a gift, the opportunity to rise above, to transform, and to create a life where you are no longer settling for less than what you deserve. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. The heartbreak of being left, the sting of rejection, the confusion of wondering why, these emotions are real and they need to be felt. But the difference between those who stay stuck in pain and those who grow from it is simple: the choice to heal. Some people spend years holding on to resentment, replaying the past and asking, why wasn't I enough? But healing happens when you shift that question to, what can I learn from this? And how can I use this to become better, not bitter? True transformation comes when you stop looking outward for closure and start creating it within yourself. You don't need an apology, an explanation, or a second chance to move forward. You don't need validation from the person who walked away. You don't need them to realize what they lost. What you do need is to focus on yourself, on your growth, your healing, and your future. The most powerful thing you can do after someone chooses another person is to rise, not in revenge, not in bitterness, but in complete self-assurance that you are still whole. That your happiness was never meant to be dependent on one person's presence in your life. People who hurt you, people who walk away, people who underestimate your worth, those are not the people who define your future. You define your future, and the way you do that is by choosing to heal instead of staying stuck in heartbreak. Healing is not about proving anything to anyone but yourself. It's about looking in the mirror and knowing that you are more than what happened to you, that your value is not measured by who stays or who leaves, that your future is not limited by one person's decision. The moment you stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as a warrior, everything changes. You shift from, why did this happen to me, to, how can I use this to grow? And that shift is where real power begins. Think about the strongest people you know. They didn't become strong because life was easy. They became strong because they faced adversity, learned from it, and used it to build something greater. That's the path in front of you right now. You can stay in the pain, or you can turn it into fuel. You can stay broken, or you can rebuild yourself into someone who is unshakable. The choice is yours. The most beautiful part of healing is that one day you will look back and realize that what felt like a loss was actually the beginning of something incredible. You will see that the person who walked away did you a favor. You will see that their choice led you to a higher version of yourself, one who no longer settles, one who no longer chases, one who radiates confidence and self-worth. So if he chooses another woman, let him go. Not because you lost, but because you are stepping into something greater. Not because you weren't enough, but because you were meant for more. The best revenge is not proving him wrong, it's proving yourself right. By healing, by growing, and by building a life so full, so beautiful, so abundant, that one day you will look back and realize that this wasn't a heartbreak. It was a breakthrough. The real victory in life isn't about being chosen. It's about choosing yourself. It's about understanding that your worth isn't dependent on someone else's validation, that love is abundant, and that rejection is simply redirection towards something greater. When he chooses another woman, let him go, not with bitterness, not with regret, but with certainty that you are on a path to something far better than what you were trying to hold on to. You are not losing, you are winning. You are winning by refusing to chase what isn't meant for you. You are winning by elevating your standards and recognizing that love should never feel like a competition. You are winning by healing, by growing, and by stepping into your full power. The pain of letting go is temporary, but the strength you gain from it will last a lifetime. And one day, you'll look back and realize that what felt like rejection was actually the greatest blessing. Because in that moment, you didn't just lose someone, you found yourself. And that is the ultimate victory.